I'm going to tell y'all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty. Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom! You're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support.
Good afternoon, good evening, good day, aloha. Welcome to the Unidentified Celebrity Review and today's episode of Known Quantities with Daniel Miller. Daniel will be joining us today, and just a little quick background on your host. He has a degree from UC Irvine. He plans events for a fancy downtown Los Angeles restaurant, and his special skills include archery and random Japanese phrases. So we'll have to ask him about those when he comes on. And I'm going to do that now. So let me introduce your host for this evening, Daniel Miller.
Hey, Aaron, how's it going, man?
It's going well.
Thank you for the introduction.
You're welcome.
Welcome, guys. Welcome. Well, yes, random Japanese phrases indeed. I used to be conversational in Japanese. That has now become more of a distant past. So now I'm left with random Japanese phrases.
Well, my daughter is studying Japanese in high school, so you two can have a
conversation. Really? Yeah, absolutely. I've been Duolingoing again, trying to get back to it because I do enjoy it and I miss being able to do. I would love to go back to Japan someday. I went once upon a time. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there. It's stuff. You got to do it on the regular. That's kind of why I stopped, because when I was in college, you had to go 5 days a week. And I was like, there's a lot else going on. I don't know if I can justify 5 days a week just for my own hobbies, but here I am now. But thank you. Aaron Desario, everybody, is our producer MVP. He will be joining us every single week. And then, as you mentioned, I'm Daniel Miller. Thank you for listening to another episode of Known Quantities. Before we bring on our lovely guest, I just want to address a few things of business. Please don't forget that this show is a podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So please don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, rate, review, comment. That also goes for this channel. Like, share, and subscribe. Ring that bell. Make sure you know when we're going live. Last week, we went on at a different time than usual for our UK friend, Graham. And so that way, when things are changing on you, you're not caught flat-footed. We also are a public access channel, which means we are supported by viewers like you, which means that super chats are open. It's a great way to support the channel if you have any burning questions. All of the UCR Shows folks, Patreons are, of course, in the show descriptions. Links are below. Your support is greatly, greatly appreciated. Special thanks to Das Tapes for our music intro, always rocking out to that in the background. And of course, BlueMarlinChronicles.com.
I forgot the music.
Oh, well, we'll just jam on it right now. No problem. Speaking of which, Das Tapes.
I'll turn it way down.
Great. Well, I think without further ado, let's bring on our lovely guest, Britt in Wonderland. Britt is an aspiring documentary filmmaker and researcher with a thoroughly thought out audio blog known as Britt in Wonderland that deeply researches public UAP files with fresh perspectives. Britt, how the heck are you?
Hello, konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
Watashi wa Brittany desu. Hey,
Welcome
I know phrases too.
Yeah, you do. I can tell. Oh, you know what? It sounds like we're getting a little feedback from your audio now. Just a heads up.
I will try to turn that down.
We'll figure it out.
I'm so sorry. I don't have my headphones. So.
Please don't apologize. It's fine.
Is it good now?
Testing 1, 2. I hear it still. I do hear it.
No, this is tragic. What do we do?
I didn't hear it before. We'll figure it out. Hang on a moment. Let me think here for a moment.
What about now?
Testing 1, 2. Still kind of hear it. So we might do this. We'll do this. Mute yourself for now while I guess we're talking. And then I guess when it's your turn to talk, we can unmute. That way, just for the listeners and everyone here. Does that work okay for you? Is that annoying?
So my mouse is broken.
Oh.
So You know what?
It's
Let me
gone.
see.
Oh, no, it's not.
No, I can still.
Yeah.
You know what? Let me see if I can do something real quick.
Sure. Cool. Well, while she's doing that, folks, and I want her to pipe in on this as well. Oh, she's got fancy headphones on. Oh, that looks like it'll work just fine. Sorry, folks. One moment. Technical difficulties.
Can you hear us now?
Okay, let's try it.
Testing
Okay.
1, 2.
I can't hear a thing.
Oh no. Check the can you hear me at all?
Oh, no, I can. No,
Okay,
I
great.
can.
I was saying on the mic settings, maybe for the speaker, make sure it's the headphones. But it sounds like it's working. I don't hear myself, and I hear you.
Perfect. I would use my microphone in here, but this microphone is a lot better. So
No, you sound great. It's working
Sounds
good.
very good.
awesome.
Excellent. So before we dive in, there is just something that happened today on with one of our colleagues, Christina Gomez, and I thought we should address it because it's a shame. And hopefully it'll be fixed. So our lovely colleague, Christina Gomez from Eyes on the Skies on Twitter and her YouTube channel, Paradigm Shifts on YouTube, was deleted by YouTube. And through what it seems to be just reports of spam, and it seems to be done through just an algorithm. And she appealed, and the appeal seems to have been denied, which seems pretty crazy to me because I think if anyone's familiar with Christina Gomez, she's just the nicest, sweetest person in the world. A college student, making content at a level that I can only dream of, and it's good content, and it is not remotely out there. And so I'm kind of at a loss for words as to why YouTube suddenly would just ban this channel. And Britt here did an amazing thing. She created a petition on change.org. Britt, I don't know if you want to talk about it for a bit. I'll also, we can post a link in the chat so everyone can sign it.
Yeah, basically, it's just a petition on change.org is to reinstate the Paradigm Shifts channel on YouTube. We need everybody on UFO Twitter to just get together and sign and share the link, retweet the link out. Make sure to at YouTube and YouTube creators, Team YouTube, at everything YouTube, at them, right? And right now we have, from what I see, 237 signatures already, which good job, guys. That was super fast considering
well done, Twitter.
this. Yeah, amazing job. And I'm really proud of you guys. And this just goes to show, like, how much we care for her and her channel and her success and everything like that. And, if you haven't signed it, I beg everybody to please go sign it. And just reshare and try to get everybody on board. There's a lot of people on UFO Twitter, and a lot of people know who she is. And I think a lot of people would agree that she needs to be back. Her channel does not deserve to be terminated.
Absolutely. Aaron, anything to add to that?
No, not really. Just that it seems like it might have been either an automated process or a report from a malicious actor in some way. This is not standard YouTube policy. And so we have people looking into it. Christina's filed some reappeals, and I'm using my internal Google channels just to kind of poke people as needed and make sure that it doesn't get lost. So we'll get to the bottom of this.
Excellent. Well, fingers crossed, knock on wood, it all is just a brief error. And really, folks, it's change.org. So I'm sure you're all familiar with that website, but if not, it literally just name, email, and I think it's about the numbers at this point. Who knows? Anything else? So fingers crossed for you, Christina. That is, I can only imagine how much hard work you put into that and have it overnight just gone. So
just like that.
Yes.
Just like that.
Right. Okay. Well, let's jump right in then. Britt, thank you so much for coming on. I've really just enjoyed your presence on Twitter and the UFO sphere. And I think you I've only been on there a little over a year, but you came out of nowhere and just hit the ground running and showed up with great content, with receipts.
Oh.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead. I think you cut out for me for a second.
Oh, sure. Well, I was just saying you showed up and you are clearly someone who's done their homework and who puts in the work and shows up with receipts. And I really enjoy your voice on this topic. So I was curious, what brought you here? What brought you to this, odd topic that has this wide assortment of people?
Right. So it was kind of funny. I was watching a streamer named Asmongold, and he was reacting to the 60 Minutes episode. And so I was like, aliens are real. Oh gosh, this is crazy. And then I called my mama up and I said, Mom, aliens are real. She's like, go hide. But basically, I saw that 60 Minutes episode and I was like, dang, this is crazy. That was like back in May, I think. And I just like to research and, just went down that rabbit hole, essentially. That's basically what happened. And then I popped up on, I was lurking for about a month, and then I never used Twitter until the end of June when I joined this community. And I was not expecting the reception that I received. That's for darn sure. I was not expecting that, but it happened. So
that's great. So you said you like researching. So you have a background. I know you said you program for a living. So is research something you've just always been a fan of, or how did you get into that?
Well, I just, how do I just describe this? I don't know. Like, I was a self-taught programmer. Like, everything that I know about computers, I self-taught myself. I mean, I'm just that type of person that likes to sit back and just dig and learn certain things. Like, anything that's interesting to me, I'm just going to be paying attention to, like, intricate details. And I don't know. That's just the type of person I am. There's nothing too unique to it.
Right. I mean, I think that's what's so great is that I think a lot of people think, oh, I didn't get a PhD. Why should I even bother? But I think you are a perfect example that if you're motivated and intelligent, there's a lot you can do.
I'm a staff software engineer at Google, and I never went to college. So
there you go.
There you go.
It's possible.
I'm a Google developer.
Cool.
But I think anybody could get that license, so it's not as impressive.
But not everybody has it.
I mean, anybody could get it, to be fair.
Right.
You only have to pay like $5 to get the license. So.
Right. So you got interested because the streamer had just kind of brought up the news. Hey, by the way, guys, aliens are real. And that just kind of sent you down that rabbit hole.
Well, he watched the entire episode. And, he's a very popular streamer, like super popular. And, he would just give his thoughts throughout the episode. And, I just saw it and I was like, I want to dig more into it. So I went to Reddit first, and then I read a lot of threads, and then I was like, oh, dang, this is a deep rabbit hole. So I just went at it. That's basically what happened.
Yeah. I mean, basically same here. I just was reading the New York Times one day, and that 2019 article popped up, and I just kind of DJ record scratch. I was like, wait, what? And it kind of just starts you along this, in the pandemic too, you got a little extra free time stuck inside. So I think it helps you. When did you get interested in this? How recent was this?
It started in May.
Oh, awesome. Great. So not that long.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I hopped on UFO Twitter at the end of June. So
awesome.
yeah, I haven't been, gosh, I guess it is approaching half a year that I've been here.
Yeah. Time flies. So what helps you decide what to look into? Is it purely just what catches your curiosity, or is there a methodological approach to it? I'm just curious.
My mind's all over the place. So it really is just something that catches my curiosity. I'm like, I want to look into this. And, I'll just publish stuff that I find. And if people find it interesting, they find it interesting. That's my approach to everything.
No, same. I mean, I think once you grab onto something and your brain can't let it go, you decide to just kind of follow it until it lets you. So you're working on this audio blog, and I think that's also a documentary. I'm just a little curious about those projects that you're working on. Is there do you still yet know what the long-term goal of these things are? You're kind of just waiting to see how this whole topic shakes out. I'm just curious on your endeavors on that.
Yeah, so a lot of the documentary is just completely me, right? Like I'm doing everything, the editing, recording, so on and so forth. It's a lot of work, right? And a lot of the stuff that I had already written up, the transcript, there has recently been more developments, and it kind of like nullified some research, and then opened more doors to other research, and I'm taking my time with that one, and I think it's important to take my time with this one because, this project that I have planned, it's gonna go well past an hour. It could be like 2 hours long, and so I when I first started doing it, I already had like almost an hour's worth of content recorded, edited, put together, and everything, and I did all of that in a month. But then just more development started happening, and I was like, okay, well, I need to sit back, take it easy, because I don't want some information to be irrelevant when I publish this. And so, yeah, that's basically what's been going on now with that. As for Britt and Wonderland, I did not intend that to be like my main channel. It really is just something for me to kind of like document. And again, I'll publish what I find out there. Right. And so, but I've noticed that Britt and Wonderland, since I guess I do post on that more often, even though I've got 3 or 4 videos on it. I mean, that one's definitely gaining more attention, and understandably so, because I haven't done anything on my main channel except post one ship. Oh, I can cuss, right?
I think so. I think that a lot, or they maybe who knows with YouTube these days, let's err on the side of not. It's like Lou's not here. It's like Dad's not home. We're not sure. So we'll,
I posted one meme. Let's just say that, a meme on my main channel regarding UFOs, and that's about it. So yeah, I don't know.
That's great. Well, I mean, things like, yes, exactly. Stephen Greer's flare.
Yes.
Yeah, quality takes time, and I think it's easy to forget in the Twitter world and in the social media world, all our attention spans are just, if there's not a recent news article to all discuss, I feel like half of Twitter is just eating itself and arguing. We're talking about a topic that has been here for a very long time, and no one's really seems to figure it out yet. So,
right.
I think there's nothing wrong with taking your time and just seeing how things go. I mean, it's a process, and we're not a good documentary isn't made in 3 months. People say, oh, there's Lou. Try not to curse, but if it happens, no problem. All right.
Okay. I'll try to avoid that.
We'll try. Well, okay. I'm really curious about the way you go about your research, because I think so many people just have this idea of what it is and think it'd be too hard or too complicated. So I was just curious about maybe the details of how you go about doing it. And I know you tweeted something relatively recently about your own rules of research. I love that. I don't know if you just want to, the floor is yours. If you just want to go off for a bit and tell me kind of your philosophy on all that.
So we're talking about philosophy and not actual methods, right?
Well, do you mean, whatever you're comfortable sharing. I mean, obviously I'm not asking you to give up your sources or anything like that, but just, say there's a topic that all of a sudden suddenly interests you, right? A certain specific thing. What is the next thing you then go about doing?
Well, it really depends on which topic it is. I mean, some topics require you to ask questions of others just to get the answers that you need. Some topics require you to dive into these super dense documents that you don't really want to dive into, but you kind of have to answer other questions. Me personally, my handle, right, is basically like my approach to everything, which is I see a connection in my mind, and I'm like, I'm going to follow that connection and see if I can actually piece this web together. But on the flip side, I think one of in a philosophical way, right? one of the most important things that I stand by is that I can't pick a side. And that's because both sides present great arguments. And I want to utilize the information that I learned from both sides to help me progress further into my own personal research. And that's the reason why you guys will never see me argue with a skeptic or a believer. I will never do that. I will sit there, I will listen, I will pay attention, you know, I'll write down questions because, you know, at the end of the day, I feel like, you know, ego is such a big deal, right? Yeah. That sometimes, and I'm guilty of this too. So I'm not putting this on anybody. I'm speaking in general. You know, sometimes we allow our egos to get in the way of, you know, logic. And if we put that ego to the side, right? And we listen to people who not only follow our inevitable bias, but also those who view it differently. I feel like that's when we get the good, hard-hitting questions, you know? Mm-hmm. That's when we find the questions that we need to be asking. That's when, you know, things really start to get going. And, you know, I do find it sad that a lot of people do argue in our little community, you know, because like, I don't know, like just skeptics will ask good questions. Believers will ask good questions. They both ask good questions.
Right. I mean, we're all here because we are trying to figure out what's going on. I mean,
exactly.
They're there because they're interested in whatever it is. So it's, you know, I think I've always said that the opposite of, so no one should be upset or argue with believers or skeptics. You know, I think the people that I'm more bummed out about, I said upset before, but that's not the right word. It's bummed out. It's the people who kind of just don't care. And I get it if you're just someone in the public, maybe who doesn't care, but you know, if you're a journalist, if you're someone in academia, that is a bummer to see, because I think this is, whatever is going on is quite a mystery. And there's definitely enough, you know, quote unquote, there to definitely give it a look. You know, we have more, I think we have more here to look at than probably, you know, any kind of theory of dark energy or dark mass, or, you know, it's, I do get bummed out that, and then we see the people tearing each other apart online or in communities. I always get worried that means that maybe people who otherwise maybe would want to be involved in the conversation see that, you know, walk in that room and see people yelling at each other and are like, you know what, I'm not going to get involved in this because this looks rough.
You see the private chat right now?
The what?
Look at the private chat.
Oh. Yes. Oh, no way. Yes.
We did it.
We did it, Twitter. So we can argue, but we can also bring back channels. Or who knows what brought that back. That is great news. That is
awesome.
What a relief, because I was feeling so bad.
I was too. I was like, there's no way my girl's gonna have to suffer like this. This was so much work.
Yeah.
Come at you.
Yes. Well done, Internet. We did it.
Yes.
We did it.
Good job, everyone. Thank you.
Awesome. Gosh. I wonder.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, please, are you kidding me? I'm so glad you interpreted that news. That is the best news we could have heard. I'm amazed it was done so quickly too. Well done.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Dang.
Typically, it does not go through that fast. So that went through super duper fast.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the final trigger was that made it go. It could have been any of the various ways that we reached out. So it's so awesome that it's back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yes.
You know, like one thing that I have noticed, like with small content creators, again, is like, you know, that this typically does not happen. It really doesn't. They're usually SOL, which
Absolutely.
is so unfortunate. But, you know, I wonder if they saw the petition. They were like, "Ooh."
Yeah.
It
was going up there super fast.
Man, I'm glad.
Amazing.
I thought perhaps for a minute that was taken down because of conspiracy theories. Because I know YouTube is, quite has a pretty intense policy against that. But I get really frustrated when they talk about this topic in a conspiracy theory context because yes, it has a history. But I mean, when you have leadership of our government talking about this in a very serious way and hinting from multiple sources that, oh yeah, these may be not human. I'm like, hey, if the head of NASA can say that, why the hell can't I? Right? So I get frustrated when I see this topic convened in that kind of window, that little box, because I think that's not really fair anymore. I think this should be looked at in the same way as maybe the Havana syndrome, right? It's this bizarre thing that's happening. We're not quite sure what it is. We have guesses, and we have scientists in the intel agencies on it. Is it really any different than that? I don't see. So, and yet when people talk about the Havana syndrome, granted, there's a lot of victims, but that are been made public, but I think it deserves the same amount of attention. But sorry, we're getting distracted. Britt, I don't know if you want to hop back on that horse there in terms of where you left off and how you go about finding further information on these things.
Well, I kind of like to use tools. I like to do like some deep digging. So I am, a lot of times I'll use the darknet and use databases on the deep web. I say darknet. I don't use darknet. I use the deep web. And I'll find like certain like intelligent databases. These are essentially like tools you can use just for open source intel, just to get a little bit more information than what you would typically do on the clear net.
And for those who are maybe not familiar, could you explain what the darknet deep web is?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So basically, the clear net is when you type in www.google.com. It's basically every website that's on a surface level that everybody can access. And then for these other websites, you'll have to use a special browser that uses onion routing protocols. So this is like Tor, right? And then you would type in a completely different address that is usually not accessible through your standard web browser. And typically this is you're completely anonymous while doing this. And there's some resources on there that you can definitely utilize. And, as much as it has a negative stigma attached to it, there are plenty of websites on the deep web that are not breaking the law. For example, that Intel database, that several of them that I use, they'll definitely filter out information to prevent doxing, so on and so forth. It's not necessarily all illegal stuff going on there, but there are a lot of good tools that you can use and utilize in order to, progress your research.
Wow, that's fascinating. So how do you...
Yes, it was developed by the Navy, indeed. It was.
How do you know you're grabbing this information? I guess what helps you decide whether this source of information is solid or not, or worth following up on or not? Are these tools you're using pretty reliable, or is there definitely some kind of independent confirmation you generally have to do?
Well, it just really depends on the nature of what I'm researching, right? Like, for example, the main reason why I'll use like the deep web in order to research something is basically to kind of keep up with what companies in particular. This is usually not for people because typical like background checks on the ClearNet usually suffices for what I'm looking into. But so like if I'm researching a company and possibly like where the majority of their money's going to, like that type of stuff is not necessarily like aired out there, right? Usually. So like there are several like DoD like contractors and private companies, corporations, where you can like see where the majority of their money are going to these other companies, right? And then I'll pull up, let's say, like DoD contracts, and I'll see that they'll grant X amount of money to this company. And, you know, I'll try to like piece together that information for myself. You know, it's just all kinds of just different little things.
Right.
And again, like also digging through documents just to confirm like certain questions, like was it totally possible for Admiral Wilson to be denied access to whatever program despite having a need to know? And I found out, yes, it was totally possible. So, I mean, it's just stuff like that, you know, like I'll try to answer those hard-hitting questions, or I'll see certain connections and I'll be like, this is interesting. Let me just go ahead and put that out there, you know, just stuff like that.
Yeah, and this is the government is a place that, you know, creates just a massive amount of paperwork, and so I think that's something that could be used to our advantage. I mean, you're talking about these financial statements. Is this something that is available publicly, or do you have to use the deep net to use the tools you're referencing before?
So I would not be surprised if there was a database that's like that on the ClearNet, but I just find this one on the deep web more reliable.
It's easier.
Again, like it doesn't give out it doesn't dox out information, right? It'll just show like which companies are the main ones in cahoots with each other and so forth.
Right.
I'm sorry, what was the question? I don't even know where I was going with that. What was the question?
Oh, just
my ADHD just kicked in so hard.
Oh, that's all right. No worries. I'm here with you. We can also just go wherever you want to go too, if your brain thought of something.
Oh,
my question was just the financial statements you were talking about, or the
contracts. The contracts are totally publicly available. Yes, you can find them. Now they're not going to be super specific. What, you know, like they have to make the contracts publicly available. Right. And they'll use certain like small phrases which could, you know, be very generalized, but it is going towards XYZ. And so, I mean, a lot of the times I'll just you know, out of curiosity, figure out this stuff. So.
Yeah, it's about digging into the minutia. What do you think what's the craziest thing that you have so far, you think, stumbled across that is kind of was a shock to you or surprising?
That's a good question. You know, honestly, probably Mary Elliott. Because everything else is kind of predictable, right? Like, and the thing is like, I call it predictable because like, these are just certain things that I thought of and looked into it and was either able to confirm or deny, you know, my thought. But right. Mary Elliott, on the other hand, had been such a massive question mark to all researchers. And, you know, the woman that I investigated, her name is Mary Ann Elliott, but Mary Ann is her first name. Anne is not her middle name. And while it's not like 100% concrete, like without a shroud of a doubt confirmed that Mary Elizabeth Elliott in the documents is her, the simple fact that like based on my background check and everything and finding that Mary Elizabeth Elliott is attached to her name, and then finding out after doing a research on that particular Mary Elizabeth Elliott that they share the same phone numbers, the same address locations, just so on and so forth, right?
Well, real briefly, can you describe, and I know it's complex, so I guess as succinctly as possible, who this is to maybe people who aren't familiar with the Wilson docs?
Yeah, sure. So towards the end of the Wilson docs, we get a glimpse into this woman named Mary Elizabeth Elliott. And Davis kind of mentions about her taking a secret to her deathbed, right? And that's just about it. Like, we don't know anything else. And, you know, a lot of the information on the Wilson documents are absolutely verifiable. I mean, of course, outside of aliens, because when is aliens ever verifiable?
Right.
But
be a different conversation.
right. But she's just been the massive question mark. And so, looking at the nature of the Wilson memos, you know, typically they're talking about aerospace companies, just like all this aerospace company talk, right? It's all centered around the DoD and aerospace companies. And so a friend of mine who does not wish to be named, but she's not like a deep source or anything. She's a good friend of mine. Sent me a message and she was just like, have you heard of Mary Ann Elliott? And I was like, no, who's that? And turns out this woman is the owner of a aerospace company called Arrowhead Global Solutions. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, well, this can't be Mary Elizabeth Elliott because clearly her middle name is Ann. Well, that is until I realized that they kept on addressing her as Mary Ann in all of these biographies. I was like, yo, that must mean Mary Ann is her first name. That's her whole first name.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just curious. And I did my little background check on her and found out that Mary Elizabeth Elliott was tied to her name. And, I'm just saying, if it's so much of a coincidence that anybody who knocks me for not thinking that this is too much of a coincidence, I don't know why you would knock me for that, because that is a massive coincidence.
Yeah.
Too big. So I'm still waiting to hear back from her. No comment as of yet.
Mm.
But it's been fun digging into that company. I'm really impressed with her accomplishments. She too also didn't get a college degree, and she made it that far.
CEO of an aerospace company. I mean, come on.
Yeah. And I just finding a whole bunch of little golden nuggets here and there. And, even if it's irrelevant to the Wilson memos, I still believe that, it's still interesting enough for me to just, be interested in it in general. But at the same time, I do think that is too big of a coincidence for us to just ignore. That is a massive one. Massive.
It's absolutely worth some following up on. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I have a lot of people questioning me and why are you hopping on this woman so fast? And I don't think they realize, because, I'm not going to dox her information when I publish a video, right? That could get me a lawsuit.
Yeah. And then she probably definitely won't ever talk to you. If she ever was.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I don't think they realize how much, how many things that these two people shared. And then also on top of that, she has property in Virginia and in Texas. Well, so did this Mary Elizabeth. And again, same addresses. And then some of them are different under these two different names. And so the coincidence is too large, way too large. And then we also got to consider how these background checks, how did these AI even get this information in the first place? And it's because they signed a contract onto something, whether it be a mortgage or a car, so on and so forth. They signed some paperwork somewhere, and in that little contract it said it's going to be publicly available. Yeah, exactly. And so you know what I mean?
Yeah, what I just had an idea too. What Ross Coulthart, Australian investigative journalist who wrote that recent book In Plain Sight, he said in his interviews that he would reach out to these people by writing them a letter, because some of these people are, I think, so scared of perhaps if they're interested in talking, perhaps they are worried about maybe a digital footprint behind that. If you're not getting answers that way, maybe a letter. I mean, I don't know, maybe that's creepy, but that's what he did, and it worked. I mean, that's
smart. I wish I was that smart.
Clearly talking. No, I mean, you still could do it. I was just saying, hey, if she's not responding to, it'd be worth if her address available. I mean, it's why not? Worth a shot.
Yeah.
But that's just.
I should have thought about that.
No, it's not too late. But that is really fascinating. And for those who maybe aren't quite as acquainted, although I have a feeling most of you know what the Wilson docs are, but this collection of notes that were leaked. I don't even remember when. I want to say it went mainly public more last year. Am I making that up? Or 2019? I can't recall. And
what, the notes?
Yeah. Like they've been around for a while, but I feel
I
like
think it's been like 3 years.
has it been that long? Jeez.
Mhm.
Wow.
I think it has been.
Wow. Okay. Well, they've been around for a while then.
Mhm.
And there are notes of Aaron popped in. Maybe he knows.
Yeah, I think they were part of the Snowden releases, or either that or one of the WikiLeaks. That's what it was. It was WikiLeaks.
Oh, really? Oh,
think
I
so.
always thought they were unofficial notes that were kind of like written by Eric Davis, and they came from Edgar Mitchell's estate. But maybe I'm
Okay,
wrong.
They did.
that could. Campbell
you're right.
says. Campbell says it. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
That's-
Yeah, for
that's it,
astronaut
Campbell.
Edgar Mitchell's estate. The WikiLeaks did have all those emails between Podesta and McCaslin, who McCaslin I'd like
Right.
to talk
That's what
yeah.
that
about
was.
a little bit.
Yeah, the juicy ones.
Yeah, but we'll go there in a minute. So there's been this years long kind of debate back and forth for anyone who's wondering whether these notes are legitimate, because they do detail an event where Admiral Wilson, who was I'm going to get the name of his office wrong. Does anyone? I'm sure chat help me out here. I'm sure someone here knows, or Britt maybe. But very high up in I believe is it the DIA?
The DIA.
Yeah, like second highest or like highest when it comes to the intelligence part of that. Who I guess wanted access to a special access program that allegedly dealt with crash retrievals, which are wreckage or debris from off-world vehicles. And apparently, when he was asked about it, his people's response was, "You don't have a need to know. Sorry." And his response is, "What are you talking about? I'm this guy at the DIA. If I don't have a need to know, who the hell does?" And there's been a debate back and forth for a very long time now about how J2 Intelligence Directorate. Thank you, Drew Williamson. So someone who should know. And so if that is true, that's a very big deal. Of course, Wilson will not comment. And my opinion on this has always been, it's an interesting topic to think about and talk about, and probably can for a long time. But unless Wilson wants to talk about it, this probably isn't going to be in the newspapers, or I doubt many journalists will deal with it, at least in a on the record manner. Perhaps there are people working on it in the background. But it's fascinating.
One thing we got to remember is that he said that he was not going to talk about it if it ever got out. He's not talking about it. He's going to deny everything. And I think it's very pivotal for people to remember that whenever they use his word to, basically confirm, and I'm going to flat out say it like this, confirm bias. Don't confirm your bias with that, right? Because you've got all these other people who are saying, nah, they're real. And then you're just going to let this one person who ultimately said, even in the memos, that he's going to deny it, and now it's not real. I understand you always got to keep that skepticism in mind. I definitely do, right? But don't let that be your trump card. Don't let that be your trump card to prove that they are fake. I think that's very important to remember.
Do you oftentimes come into conflict with your own bias when it comes to what maybe you think is going on versus what you're trying to stay as neutral and as objective as possible as you look into this?
100%. It's very difficult to avoid your own bias. And so in that case, you want to surround yourself with people who can present logical thoughts and information to you that is opposing your own bias. And so you can, just listen to them and take it in, right? And just be like, dang, you're right,
Hey, Christina's here. Christina,
hey,
we heard the great news. We are so happy for you. We're
super thrilled. I'm so happy they got that back so fast, girl. Bam.
Don't mess with Christina Gomez, everybody. Awesome. Oh, here we go. Christina Gomez. A little late, but I just wanted to say, where'd it go? There we go. I just wanted to say thank you all so much for everything you guys have done for me today. I'm truly humbled and grateful. Christina, pleasure is ours. We got to look out for each other. And you are a wonderful part of this community. And I think people should, look out for each other.
Absolutely. And we're thankful for you as well, Christina. We really are.
100%. And guys, if you haven't subscribed to her channel, it's a great channel. She also does great work over at the Debrief, which if you're not for the Debrief, go to the Debrief right now. It's an amazing website that is founded by Tenant Tim McMillan, MJ Benias, and Micah Hanks. And she does weekly roundup news videos there, as well as some other interviews. So she's fantastic. What were we just talking about? Do you remember? If not, we'll just move on.
You were asking the wrong person. I can tell you that.
That's all
so
right.
ADHD. I can't even remember what I'm doing half the time.
No, I'm
I'll be mid-sentence and forget what I'm talking about.
I'm the same. That's why I joke with like my girlfriend. Like we were in the pandemic, and I think people they get that hyper focus on something that they're super into, right?
Yeah.
And so I think this became that, where I was like, "What is going on?" And just every day. That's kind of why I made this anonymous Twitter account, which turned into this, but was just like, I have to talk about this with somebody because this is crazy and it's fascinating news going on, and I can't just keep talking to my girlfriend about it.
Yeah, you're gonna drive your partner nuts. I know I definitely do.
Absolutely.
But I do have to say, I'm also very thankful for him because he does sit there and listen and, at least humor me and, come with ideas as well. So I really appreciate that. Which, by the way, he's also a rather skeptical person of everything. So you ask about how I avoid my bias. Oh, that's what we were talking about, avoiding the bias.
Right. See, we got there. We got there.
No, we got there. We just had to work right there. But yeah, I mean, I've got him. And he's super skeptical of everything. And I'm just like, we might get into a little argument here and there, but no. I'm really appreciative of him because he really does help me curve my bias,
Absolutely. I think many people who are just interested in this topic can relate, many kudos to all the partners out there who have to sit there and listen to us ranting about what's going on.
We're really appreciative for sure.
And I think that's why I really like talking to people who don't agree, who don't think maybe something's going on or are very skeptical, because I'm always asking myself, hey, what if I'm wrong? What if this is all nonsense? I don't know how that would be, but I'm constantly trying to check my own personal opinions versus what objectively might be happening. And then also personal opinions versus what can be said in a manner that is conducive to making this topic more popular, right? Because, there's some people on Twitter who, and I'm not saying this isn't a criticism or me even commenting on what that is, but there are people who are going to say, this is, this phenomenon spreads like a disease and can cause, these episodes of terrifying hallucinations or like some kind of poltergeist situations. And if you go straight to that with someone who's remotely interested in this topic, they're going to tap out and say, all right, this sounds crazy. I'm out. Bye. And so I think it's important to also be mindful of what can we, as Lou always says, what can I bring to the desk of a senator? Right? Like what are our own personal pet theories, but then what is just known for sure? What can I say that is proven without a doubt, or at least has enough corresponding evidence to really make a case for someone to look into that? And I think so many people get caught up in their own bias of what they think it might be or believe it may be because of personal experiences. And I'm not an experiencer, so I understand that it's a lot harder to remove oneself from the topic if you had a personal experience. But how that bias can really get in the way of just us trying to further the ball along. I don't know. Do you have anything to add to that? I feel like I'm rambling a bit, but I think it's important to bring up the fact that bias is strong. It's always there, and it can really get in the way.
It can. And it's really hard to recognize when your own bias is coming out at times. And so, that's the reason why, I made my little rule list earlier. It's because, you've got to be respectful to people who, might argue your own bias, and and you've got to appreciate them too, because unless they're absolutely insulting you, which you should never ever have to deal with.
Absolutely
right?
not. Absolutely not.
If they're being respectable but they disagree, like, disagreeing does not necessarily mean disrespecting.
Great quote.
And so you can disagree and still validate. There you go. Disagreement does not necessarily mean invalidating.
100%. 100%. Because your opinion of something doesn't.
We tend to forget that. Yeah, we tend to forget that, right? Because, like, I can, as someone who isn't an experiencer, right? And you might have thoughts that cross your mind, like, oh, this person was hallucinating that. But that doesn't mean you're invalidating their personal experience, because that is terrifying. Hallucination or not, that is still terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's no matter what the answer, it doesn't really matter. I think what people are describing sound like horrifying experiences, and
absolutely.
And I just have an opinion on it because I never for once even thought UFOs were a thing. I was like, I think if there was something there, we'd probably know about it. It'd be probably in the news. And so when you find out that, oh no, this has been a thing since, a very long time, but very much documented since the 40s and before, you think, so I've learned to keep an open mind to, who knows? To. Right. Like I never thought this was possible, and here I am. So who am I to say what's not possible and what is before we have evidence to say so? So.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, let's real quick. Do you want to go over? Oh no, what were you saying? Sorry, there's a delay here.
You know what? We'll save it for another time.
All right.
Be here for a while if we bring up what I'm thinking about.
Oh no, let's do it. I want to hear what you have to say.
You know what? Let's just move on.
Okay, fair enough. That's for the sequel, guys. For next time. So I wanted to, if you don't mind, because you tweeted this out and I love it. It was like your rules for researchers or research. I don't know if you have it handy or not, but did you just want to read it out for everybody? Because I thought they're great. They're great rules just to follow on for everybody who I think is looking into this topic, because it's important to remind us all why we're here and how to treat each other while we're doing it.
If I can find it. God, I tweet a lot. What is wrong with me? There we go.
I tweet a lot more than you probably.
I don't know about that. There you go. All right. So, rules for doing proper research. Trust no one but yourself. This is true. Trust no one but yourself, because someone could be feeding disinformation to you. So don't believe everything that you hear. Remain unbiased and ignore your own inevitable bias, which we've already gone through, like how you avoid your bias. Treat everyone equally and with respect. Stand up for yourself when you make a stance, but show humility when you're wrong. That is something else that I see a lot of people on UFO Twitter not doing. Sometimes people are just wrong and they will keep on arguing despite having the evidence that they're wrong. You're recalling some information incorrectly. And admit to ignorance. There's nothing wrong to admitting to ignorance, right? I had never heard of mantis aliens until the Big Phone Home 2. I'd never heard of that. And everybody was like, what? How did you never? What? But I mean, I'm not afraid to admit that. And so because I admitted that, I had a lot of people come to me and help me and, educate me about what they were talking about. Keep in mind that everyone's life experiences and views are different from yours. again, and we can definitely reference like experiencers to people who've never experienced anything. Like these people might have experienced something phenomenal and euphoric, or they could have experienced something absolutely terrifying. You don't know what they're going through. So you got to keep in mind that their beliefs are going to be completely different from yours. And that also applies to like different cultures. Maybe you didn't experience anything, but you grew up in a family that is very superstitious. I mean, that's just a fine example. Be understanding in every situation. Avoid those who treat you poorly due to your admitted ignorance. Those people are not there to help you. They're there to tear you down. Calculate cause and effect. Why did this happen? And what was the result of this? I think that's very important. And thank everybody who spends time with you in order to help you further along your research. I mean, that's just the proper thing to do.
Good stuff.
So, yeah.
Oh, look who it is.
Christina! Yes!
Hey,
I
what's up?
literally took down my studio as soon as I ended, so it's like real janky right now. But I wanted to come on, and I wanted to truly, from my heart, which I have many. No, I'm just gonna only have one. But I want to say thank you for Britt for making the petition, for Aaron, for everyone, absolutely everyone that was on my side and was really trying hard to get my channel back and sharing my tweet and being like, I support you. I mean, I got so many messages. I did not see it coming, and I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like this is insane. And from 4 a.m. and right now it's 5 o'clock my time, so 13 hours. It was a really stressful time. Like I think I gained a few white hairs from the stress.
I can only imagine.
And like I try to stay really calm, especially on my show just now talking about the Dulce Bays. So I was like stressing out. I think I sweat through like 5 of my t-shirts, right? And doing research and then answering people's messages and then like trying to stay calm and like attempting to feed myself. So what I'm getting at is I just want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you so much.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you for producing wonderful content. And, I'm sure I can speak on behalf of everybody that, like, we're not about to let someone like you go down like that. That's not going to happen. Absolutely not. Hello? So we got your back, girl. We got your back, for sure. And thank
We're so
you
glad
for
to
doing
see
what
it
you
worked
do.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
And, thank you for all the hard work as well. Like, I know how much work you put into this. Like, oh my gosh. You didn't deserve that to happen to you.
It was really unexpected. And I think for those that don't know, I didn't have any strikes whatsoever. I wasn't breaking any guidelines or anything. But what it turned out being was it's very possible that it could have been I could have been hacked, right? It could have been like the VPN or something like that. So it got cleared. I have some really fantastic people that are working in the background that I won't mention because they don't want their names to be known, but I wouldn't be here without them, and for everyone in between for just being like, we support you. And I'm like, thank you.
Yes, and thank you to Bottled Water. Love you, Christina. Glad you're back. Thanks for the super chat. And sorry, Aaron, I might have it's Akashi Chris. That's right there. She's so glad you're back, Christina.
Good to be back, my friends. Good to be back.
Nakashi Chris, thank you for the super chat as well. So glad this has been fixed. Love you, Christina.
Heck yeah. And support UCR, guys. They kill it every single day, 5 days a week, producing content for you to keep you educated. I mean, where else are you going to find that? Nowhere else but on UCR. So the super chats are so crucial for these people. And it really is. And it keeps them off the streets. That's the biggest thing. Feeds them ramen. Keeps them off the streets.
Yes, let the ramen flow. As Enzo Cirilli said. I'm probably butchering that name. Well, thank you for that. Yes, everyone works hard here. It ain't free to make, so any support, of course, is appreciated. So thank you for that.
Oh, yeah.
Christina will not be silenced. That's right, Jazz Shaw.
Absolutely not.
All right, we'll go get some sleep, Christina.
I'm actually cooking up some pasta. It's not ramen today. It's like pasta with cream cheese and spinach and stuff. So I'm very excited.
Nice.
But yeah,
Worth a celebration.
Well, I mean, ramen is a celebration, but I don't have any. So I had to like pick the second best, and that's Italian food. Which is like pretty good.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
All right. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you for
Of
coming
course.
by.
Thanks for coming on. That's fun.
Bye.
Oh, okay. Bye. No, bye.
Someone taking that can and just yanking her off. Oh,
Gosh,
man.
I'm so happy that she got her account back. I really
Me
am. I'm
too.
so thrilled.
Trevor
Now
Shredder,
I gotta
thank you
figure
for
out
the
how to take
super
on this
chat.
position.
Nearly lost it when I saw Christina got taken off. Absolutely wonderful to see everyone support her. She is unbelievably deserving of all of it. Amen to that, Trevor Shredder. Amen to that.
100%.
Well, that I think is a great time to end. Let me see if I can get this music playing in the background here. Britt, thank you so much for coming on and having this chat. The great part about this show is it gives me just a great excuse to get people I really want to talk to come on and talk with me and we have a great conversation, and all the people in the chat who get to hang out. So this is a real treat. Absolutely love to have you back on again sometime. Where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Inference. The first E is a 3. Right now, what I'm digging into is I'm tackling this ARG or whatever, whatever it is from David Hicks. Oh yeah, we should have gotten into that. That would have been fun. But yeah, you can find me at Empress. First E is a 3, and then I've got a couple of YouTube channels there attached to that Twitter profile. Everything you need to find is right there on that Twitter profile. So that's it.
Awesome. All right. Well, that'll be it for another episode of Known Quantities. Britt, thank you so much for coming on. Aaron, thanks for being my co-pilot here. And special shout out to Tina Tomaszewski for, I hope I pronounced her name right. I'm sorry if I didn't, Tina, for all her moderating powers. She's also a mod MVP. So thank you guys. Until next time. See you next week.
Bye.
I'm going to tell y'all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty. Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom! You're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support.